In this video, I will review the second episode of the Disney Plus series Falcon and the Winter Soldier. If you're new to this channel, my name is Marieke and welcome to our channel, Touch of Magic. In this video, I will review the second episode of the series Falcon and the Winter Soldier. If you haven't checked out our first review of the first episode yet, go check it out, go to our profile and just watch the video and let me know what you thought about it. And in the meantime, hit that like button and subscribe button and check out more of our Disney related videos. But for now, let's start with the review. In the opening scene of the episode, we see John Walker, aka the new Captain America, preparing for this live interview, turns out. And he seems very insecure about his part as the new Captain America. And he is being encouraged by his partner and his buddy Hoskins. The next scene, we see that live interview. And he's actually being quite humble. And to us is giving rational proof why he is the new Captain America. Even though I have the feeling that I don't want to call him Captain America yet, because he ain't no Steve Rogers. Next is a very important scene. It's actually the first time where Bucky and Sam meet again. And Bucky actually comes to see Sam because Bucky wants some answers why Sam gave the shield away. And you can see conflict still in Sam's eyes. In this scene, Sam introduces the Flag Smashers to Bucky. And actually, Sam was on his way to go on a mission to observe the Flag Smashers a little bit more. And Bucky decides to join. So they both hop on that plane and go to, Munich. And now we are in our first action sequence. Bucky tries to save a hostage, but spoiler alert, she was not being kept hostage. She was one of the Flag Smashers. And before you know it, Bucky and Sam are fighting like 8 people with super soldier strengths. Where are those super soldier strengths coming from? We're all asking. And before you know, the new Captain America and his buddy Hoskins are joining the fight. And which was pretty weird, but the new Captain America, John Walker, he was kind of dominating the fight with him being one of the only ones without super strength. So next, Bucky and Sam are being pulled out of the fight voluntarily. They kind of lost. And they were on their way to the airport where they are bickering. And John Walker and Hoskins are picking them up in their truck. And actually, they have a little conversation and they want to work together. Well, at least John Walker wants to work with Bucky and Sam. But they don't feel it. And what John Walker actually wants is for Bucky and Sam to accept John as the new Captain America, but they aren't having it. So they walk out and they walk to the airport by themselves, and they just leave it there. Oh, by the way, there's also a mention that Hoskins was a Battlestar. Apparently, this is a reference to the comics, and I think it has to be yet introduced to the MCU. So I'm really curious about what that's gonna take and what that Battlestar actually is. Next, we get to know a little bit more about the villain. The leader of the group is a girl named Carly, and I think she is German, and they are hiding in some place. They're already getting some allies, and they're hiding, and Carly gets an unusual text like, what is that about? We find out that the Flag Smashers are not only physically strong, but also technically strong because they are hacking Interpol. Sam and Bucky are on a plane and they're actually talking about getting the shield back. But they don't quite know how to, and Bucky suggests to meet a guy. So they headed to Baltimore, Maryland, where they meet Isaiah. Isaiah is very hostile to Bucky, and apparently they were eye to eye when Bucky was still the Winter Soldier. Apparently Isaiah was like this superhero, this super soldier. He was a bit like Steve Rogers, and he was sent to assassinate Bucky. And Isaiah dictates that Bucky is still Hydra and still an assassin, so he doesn't want to help. Bucky is being arrested after they actually wanted to arrest Sam because apparently he has a different skin color. That's what the series indicates. But Bucky was actually being arrested because he missed a therapy appointment. I wouldn't go back either if that woman would have been my therapist. So they actually go to the police station and they found out that John Walker has helped them. And that bothers them even more. The therapist comes to visit the police station and she is set on having that therapy session right then and right there, and Sam has to join. In the beginning of the session, they are doing couple exercises, which is a bit weird and a bit awkward, but the conclusion of the session is that Sam and Bucky are going to work together for this mission, and they don't want to see each other again after. My own prediction, they are besties for life after that mission. So Sam and Bucky are walking out of the police station and they ran into John Walker and Hoskins, where they have a little chat, and the new Captain America actually suggests that they work together, but Sam says that he doesn't want to work under the eye of the government because of its many restrictions. So yeah, John Walker gets a little bit hostile and is probably very upset after that rejection because he said something like, okay, but get out of the way. I think Bucky and Sam made a new enemy in John Walker. In the next scene, we see a glimpse of the Flag Smashers. They are going into a plane and packing all kinds of boxes, and what does it contain? I don't know. Maybe the serum, maybe some medicines, where they talked about earlier a little bit in the episode. Who knows? But apparently they were followed or are being held by some organization. I don't know what the name was. And someone of the Flag Smashers has to sacrifice himself to do so. And he does that successfully because the Flag Smashers can get away. In the last scene, we see Bucky and Sam discussing on what to do next. They decide that they do need to work with Isaiah, but first they have to go to a guy named Zemo. I feel this episode has three major themes. The first is we get to know John Walker a little bit better. The second is we get to know what the Flag Smashers are capable of and are willing to do. And the third, we learn about the huge personality difference between Sam and Bucky. So first, we get to know a little bit more about John Walker. And before the live interview, I was really thinking about okay, but why does he deserve to be the next Captain America? And during that live interview, they prove it with rational proof, but it does not feel emotional yet. And I think that is very important. If you can feel it, you shouldn't be doing it. And I didn't know if I was team hate or team love on this guy. And he was very humble during that interview, which made me question. But later on, he turned out to be a real a-hole when he was rejected by Sam and Bucky. And he expected of them to stand behind him like they did with Steve Rogers, which is a pretty unrealistic thing to ask from two persons in grief. John Walker does show how capable he is actually, because in the scene on the truck, that action scene, he dominates that fight, even though he has no super strength like almost everyone had on that truck and in that action scene. And I was just wondering if he's fighting really smart, or might he be part of the Flag Smashers? I don't know. It's just a theory. Wade Russell is portraying the role of the new Captain America, and maybe his surname sounds familiar. Maybe you know Kurt Russell? His famous father and Goldie Hawn, his famous mother and Kate Hudson as his sister. He might be the least famous person in the Kurt Russell family. But we know for sure that with this performance, he might be a very next successful descendant of the Kurt family. As the second theme, we learn about the abilities and the sacrifices they are willing to make of the Flag Smashers. For example, in the first episode, we learn that the Flag Smashers' purpose is to live in a world without borders and live like they did during the blip. In this episode, we found out that there are like 8 super soldiers in their team. We don't know how they got it, maybe because of a serum. But we know they are very capable. And they are also technically very capable because they hack the Interpol system, which is crazy. And they're also willing to sacrifice because Matthias, I found that name on some site like Marvel Wikipedia, that he sacrificed himself so other Flag Smashers could get away. We learn that the leader of this group is called Karli Morgenthau. She has not been yet introduced into the MCU, but she is part of the comics, which the series is inspired by. And fun detail, in the comics, Karli was not a she, it was a he, and he went by the name Carl. And I think the nationality of this Karli is German, and I do feel that German villains are a little bit overplayed. I mean, of course it's in the comics and they don't want to change it, but we've been there, we've done that, the German villains. Maybe choose a villain from another nationality. And the third theme is that Bucky and Sam are very different, and the makers are not very shy about showing it. Sam is really practical, down to earth. He is doing what he's supposed to be doing, and Bucky is more idealistic, go into action, and he doesn't give a fly about what anyone says, especially the government. This is an example of this showing. It's the first time that they actually meet again, and that Bucky wants answers on why Sam has given away the shield, and Bucky seems a little bit idealistic, like, oh, Steve had a purpose and we have to get it back, and Sam is all like, yeah, but we can't because I already gave it away. How do you want to do that? And this bit is coming back about that they should get the shield back, and the same arguments from Sam and Bucky are being introduced. You also see a difference in training style. For example, Sam is army trained. He is about protocols and what should we do and more observant. And Bucky is more like an assassin. And he's more like an assassin. And he's into action. He does what needs to be done and maybe overrushes things. With example, with the girl that was being held hostage. I think that they could be an amazing team. They complement each other really, really well, but only if they learn how to communicate well. They have certain terms and certain visions of words they use. And I think if they really set the terms on what those words mean and what their actions mean to them in a more deep leveled way, I think they could really, really work well together. But yeah, it's a show, and without bickering, it's a bit boring. So I get why they do this now. Otherwise, it would be boring. We also need to talk about a fourth, maybe a little bit underlying theme, which is actually kind of racism. I'm a bit nervous to talk about it because it's such a delicate subject. But when they were in Baltimore, it was so indicated that there was a case of racism. I think it's really, really good that Marvel handled it, because I don't know what it's like, and now I got a bit more intel on how that might feel, that you are spoken to or maybe you're almost arrested just because you are bickering with a friend. I think that people should not feel afraid to be themselves or restrict themselves, no matter what color skin they have or what they believe in or how their bodies are. It doesn't go with me. So I think it's really good that Marvel handled this, and obviously Black Lives Matters. So what will happen in the next episode? Well, we don't know, but we always can guess. I seriously hope that Sharon Carter will be there. There have been some promises about a Sharon Carter in the trailers, and I'm kind of missing her. I'm also really curious about how the friendship between Sam and Bucky will evolve, and if they will grow closer or will there be more of a distance. I'm also very curious about where is he in this place? Where are his whereabouts? Do we get to see him in the series? I don't know. I hope so. There's also another theme that I feel is coming a little bit more, and it's about the US government. It's a little bit of their lacking off in the MCU. This is just in the MCU. But I feel that they're letting people down, and it comes back frequently also in the first episode and in the second episode. So I think that will be a theme that will evolve more. I think in the next episode we also will know who Zemo is, and we will find out how their relationship with Isaiah evolves, because I think Isaiah is definitely coming back. And I also hope that we get to know the Flag Smashers a little bit more, like personally, so they will become 3-dimensional villains instead of the 2-dimensional villains that they are right now. Now it's time for this week's verdict. I give this episode 9 out of 10 stars. I thought this episode was slightly better than the first episode, and I'm gonna explain to you why. Well, it was a bit unfortunate that there weren't any cameos, but Bucky and Sam still reunited. This episode was all about just setting more storylines. Like the storyline of Bucky and Sam not knowing how to work together. Is the new Captain America a hero, a a-hole, or might he be just a villain? And the knowing what the Flag Smashers are capable of, it kind of terrifies me. So that sets the tension for next episodes, which I think is really good. They also speak to a wider audience and subjects by handling others' real, actually lifetime subjects like racism and government flaws, which I think is a really bold choice. The only thing I would have liked to see a little bit better is they introduced a lot of storylines in the first episode with Taurus and that red handprint thing on the phone. Well, where did it all go? I didn't get any information, and I'm really curious about what will happen next. I think they should refer a little bit more to the first episode, because there were so many questions that I wanted to be resolved. So I hope we find out soon in episodes that are following. I am really looking forward to the next episode, and I really want to know what you guys thought of this episode. So comment down below and let me know what you thought of this episode and about this video. And make sure to hit that like button and that subscribe button if you like our channel, and check out more of our Disney and Marvel related videos. Thank you so much for watching, and we'd like to see you next week for our third episode. And for now, bye!